So the Buffalo Bills fired head coach Sean McDermott after nine seasons with the team and no Super Bowl appearances. This happened just days after their loss in the divisional round to the Denver Broncos on the road. Brandon Beane has been promoted to president of football operations. Sean has done an admirable job of leading our football team for the past nine seasons, owner Terry Pagula said in a statement. But I feel we are in need of a new structure within our leadership to give this organization the best opportunity to take our team to the next level. We owe that to our players and to Bills Mafia. This came as a little bit of a surprise to me. I understand, with the trend of how things are going, with teams that had big time expectations going into the season. The Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills are two teams that had very high aspirations as far as making the Super Bowl. They're expected to be in the mix there. With the Sean McDermott thing surprised me more so than John Harbaugh, more so than Mike Tomlin, because the Buffalo Bills were dominating their division for the past 6 years. They were one of the upper echelon of teams in the NFL. It seemed like every single year they were in the running to get to the Super Bowl. They've been to the AFC Championship game, been to the divisional round a bunch of times. They just haven't been able to get past Patrick Mahomes. But the feeling, as I talked about with Josh Allen yesterday or the other day after they lost to Denver, was that, hey, these were high expectations this year for Buffalo going into these playoffs, knowing that who was not going to be there. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, they were not going to be in Josh Allen way in these playoffs. So, yeah, you looked at Buffalo and you expected them to get to the Super Bowl. I know that I did. I didn't think that, as I said before, that Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, Aaron Rodgers, any quarterback left in the playoffs, CJ Stroud, I didn't think any of these guys would be able to stop Josh Allen from getting to the Super Bowl. I just saw he was the best. He's the best out of the group, and he is. And the first couple of names that come to mind when you think about Buffalo is you think of Brian Daboll, you think of hiring within Joe Brady, the Bills OC, the guy that a lot of people heralded for kind of turning Josh Allen around, making him less reckless with the football, being more efficient, leaning into the run game. You'd imagine that maybe those names would be ones that come up as far as head coaching job. Brian Daboll obviously has familiarity with Josh Allen and the Bills, being their former OC before he went to take the head coaching job for the New York Giants. If I'm being honest, I feel like this firing was a little bit sketchy. I didn't think that Sean McDermott needed to be fired. I thought this was a bit of a scapegoat move to kind of justify for what is clearly a failed season. And if they felt pressure to make a move based on what's already happened, you look at how the long tenured coaches that have been let go and or fired, and you just look at the landscape of how things are changing within the coaching tree. The Bills felt like they had to make this move. I didn't think they needed to. I think Sean McDermott is a really good coach. I think he's going to be a head coach very soon. If not, by the start of next season, he'll be a head coach again. This just felt off to me. Now I could be wrong. You can lean into the fact that the Bills had all these expectations going into the season and that they didn't fulfill it. They didn't fulfill much of anything given who wasn't in the playoffs. Maybe that was their justification for letting Sean McDermott go. Personally, I thought this one felt a little bit off. I didn't think this needed to happen. I didn't think Sean McDermott was really the problem here. Now, what you can say to lean into it a little bit is that Sean McDermott comes from a defensive background. And every playoff game, it seems like the Buffalo Bills defense gives up at least 30 a game. They gave up 30 again to Denver. These are always high-scoring games. You can look in the past where Josh Allen has not been able to win these playoff games. You can look at the defense. You can look at, 13 seconds left against the Kansas City Chiefs. You allow them to go to drive down and get a field goal within 13 seconds. You allow Tyreek Hill to burn you, even though back then Tyreek Hill burned everyone. You allowed him to get in the scoring position. You just, again, versus Kansas City, you couldn't get it done. And then now against Denver, you get these pass interference calls and get Denver in scoring position. You just kind of look at over the years, just the defense failing in the playoffs. Going from Leslie Frazier to their new DC to looking at Sean McDermott, where it's like, hey, you came from a defensive background, so you expect the defense to be a little better than what they have been. And this year, Buffalo's defense their glaring weakness was their rushing defense. You could run the ball against them very, very efficiently and quite frankly, very easily. So there's different things to look at it. I didn't think Sean McDermott needed to be fired, but nonetheless, the Bills owner, I should say, decided to pull that trigger and then promote their GM to president.